The American dream has become a nightmare. Signs of the time are on cardboard on corners in town. Like a cancer that's silently spreading, there's an unspoken fear. We're on our way down. We must take America back.
Welcome, Patriots and Freedom Fighters, broadcasting from my home studio in downtown Bellefonte, Pennsylvania, worldwide as National Intel Report on Republic Broadcasting Network, Liberty Lighthouse on Mojo 50 Radio, Patriot Nation Radio Network, and anywhere else you happen to see the show. Hear or see the show. I'm Peter Serafine. I'm your host for this next 2 hours of common sense and constitutional discussion. Tonight, the bottom of this first hour, 6:30 Eastern time, if you're watching or listening live, I got Colonel Mike Ford, retired Colonel Mike Ford, the managing editor of American Free News Network. He's going to stay with us for about an hour. So you've got me for the first half hour and the last half hour, and Colonel Ford and I together for the hour in the middle. I'm going to start with something from last week. I had announced that I'm doing book giveaways. I'm going to give away copies of my books, including my newest one, A More Tyrannical King. And thus far, there are only 8 of you out there listening who submitted to win that free copy. So I'm going to wait until the last segment of the show before I pick a name, draw a number, whatever, and decide who to give books to. So if you want your chance, and chances are pretty good at this point, I plan to give away 1 copy of each of the 3 tonight in the last segment. So I got 3 books to give away and only 8 names in the giveaway list. So if you'd like to join that list, if you want to be considered to win a free copy of one of my books, go to liberty-lighthouse.com. Big button right across the top of the homepage there that says, I forget what it says, but it's entering to win a free book. Win free books. So you've got an hour and a half-ish. Liberty-lighthouse.com. Put your name in the hat. And then at some point in the last half hour, I will have somebody pick a number, and we'll just count down the list and give that person books. All right? That's my plan so far. I have to say, I'm not terribly prepared for tonight. And that's because, I've taken a few days off work. I haven't been to work in 3 days now, today being the 3rd day. And work is when I'm usually driving around listening to new shows and listening to podcasts and listening to what's going on in the world. And when I'm not at work, I kind of disconnect. I don't pay attention to what's going on, especially in politics. So I don't have a whole lot going on. What I have been doing for the last 3 days, though, is I've decided to embrace the political system at the local level by petitioning my local borough council. I have a dog. I've had a dog for about 3 months now. Cute little, I think it's a border collie Pomeranian mix, maybe a border collie spaniel. He looks like a border collie, a little smaller, a little cuter. He's timid. I got a yard. He can run around in the yard, but he's timid around other animals. So I want him to have an opportunity to socialize with other dogs. But there are no leash-free or off-leash dog parks in my town. There's not really a whole lot of socialization between animals here. So I thought it'd be a good idea. There is one about 10 miles away in another town, and every time I drive all the way over there, I meet people from my town. Seems odd that we don't have one here. So I started a petition and made a website and a GoFundMe page and a Facebook page and all this stuff. Try to get signatures on a petition to present to Borough Council next month to have them create a leash-free or an off-leash dog park in town. Now, this is supposed to be how you get things done. You organize, you gather support for your cause, and you present it to your local government. And it works a lot better at the local level than it does at the federal level. And why do you think that is? Because at the federal level, we can organize and gather We have, the Million Man March and have hundreds of thousands and millions of people march on Washington, D.C. And by and large, Washington just ignores us. Look at all of the surveys out there, like 85, 90% of people think term limits are a good idea or a balanced budget. Both of those things often poll in the high 80 and 90% range. Yet Washington, D.C. has, to my knowledge, never taken either one of them very seriously. And why would they? And both of those things would limit their power, their control. And if we leave it up to them, why would they? We have to give them no choice. We have to make it perfectly clear that they won't be there to do that elected job anymore. Like they don't give us what we want when it's that high of a percentage of people that want said thing. Anyway, this is a live call-in show. So if you've got questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, any of the above things, feel free to call in at 512-248-8252. Or if you would prefer, you can text me. If you don't want to have your voice on the radio, but you still have a comment to make, you can text that to me at 646-974-4487. That's 64 my rights to text me, 512-248-8252 to call into the show. And thanks to Steve, who just filled out the form to try to win a book a little later this evening. Oh, pardon me. So it was a Princeton study quite a while ago now. They've got a great video. I should try to look for it during one of these breaks. Princeton did this study, and they did a great video showing that, in a representative democracy, you would think that the higher the public support of whatever the cause might be, that the likelihood of that thing becoming law would go up in proportion with public support. But it doesn't. The likelihood of any bill presented in Congress becoming law is, I don't know, we'll say 2%. Regardless of how public support is, whether it's 20% public support or 90% public support, the likelihood of the bill becoming law is about 2%. But when big money lobby groups get involved, then the likelihood starts to change and starts to move. So if we want to affect change in our federal government, we want to affect change without invoking the right to abolish our government given to us in our Declaration of Independence. If we want to evoke change peacefully using the system, well, the way the system is set up now, the only way you can do that is by gathering large amounts of people together and large bank accounts. There's something wrong with that. That's just not quite right. How do we fix it? Do we create a lobby group? Do we create a get back to the Constitution the way it was written lobby group? How many people even would support that idea of going all the way back and limiting our federal government's power that dramatically compared to what it is today? How many people do you think would support that? And how much money would those people have to give to create, well, a bank account big enough to actually sway government? I do say that, COVID, the Wuhan flu pandemic, the scandemic, the whatever you want to call that thing that went on for a couple of years there, it woke up quite a few people. There's a lot more people paying attention to politics than I've seen in my life. There's a lot more people that are just outright upset with what's going on in our world. Now, my awakening, me getting involved in politics, me feeling that something was wrong, started just before the scandemic a couple of years before. But I put out that first book, and several people I know read it during the COVID lockdowns and stuff, and they said, "Wow, did you write this before?" And yeah, I did. That woke up a lot of people. I've seen a lot more, shall we say, right-leaning activism since the pandemic, since the scandemic. A lot more people that seem to honestly be thirsty for the knowledge of what government is supposed to do and how it's supposed to behave. So how do we coalesce into a block that will get listened to? See, I look out in the political world now, and we've got these two big blocks, the Democrats and the Republicans, and then everybody else is kind of scattered in the winds. Nobody nobody really has enough power to affect change except maybe the Democrats and Republicans, but the Democrats and the Republicans are, two wings of the same bird, two sides of the same coin, however you want to say it. They work together more often than they work apart. They argue and they lie out loud on minutia that doesn't really matter. But on the big things like, oh, I don't know, $33 trillion national debt, they work together. Grand Thursday evening to you, my leprechaun friend in Kentucky. Thanks for watching over there in the Twitch chat room. Thank you very much for that. The one thing I can say is, we had the Tea Party movement, right? The Tea Party movement came around and then they just kind of fizzled out. But if you look, they actually managed to affect a little bit of change. They made a bunch of noise and a couple of minor things changed and then they fizzled out. Some of them got absorbed back into the Republican Party. And the same sort of thing happened with the Democrats and the Socialist Party. Anybody seen anything from the American Socialist Party lately? The difference was that it seems to me, as an outsider looking in, the Socialist Party, well, they were affecting change within the Democrats and getting them to lean closer to socialism. But instead of fizzling away, the Socialist Party seems to just have been absorbed into the Democrat Party. My point here is that these third party groups, whether they're official political parties or whether they're just organizations or groups of people, they can affect change on a small level, but none of them have gotten big enough to really take change. Now, the so-called MAGA movement that Trump lit a fire under, I can't say that he created it, but he brought it up into the light. The MAGA movement has an opportunity right now to do kind of like the Socialist Party did to the Democrats and just take it over. Now, I like the idea of make America great again. I think that's a great slogan. It's a great concept. I don't know that all of the people that, I don't know that a majority of the people that have wrapped themselves in the MAGA movement know what that really means. There's so many of them that are just blindly following and supporting Donald John Trump. I don't think blindly following anybody is the right thing to do. We have documents that tell us what our federal government is supposed to look like, how it's supposed to behave, what it can do, and what it can't do. That's what we need to be focused on. That's what we need to wrap ourselves in whatever this movement is, whether it's the Magna movement or whether we create some other movement. Have you ever seen, keep wanting to buy one, but they're so freaking expensive. I haven't done it yet. we've all seen a pocket constitution, right? Like my little leather bound one here that I bought at Barnes and Noble. It's the Constitution and the amendments and the Declaration, and it's like 110 pages long. But that's not the Constitution that our government goes by anymore. The annotated version of the Constitution is what our federal government goes by. They follow that one. But that one it's not a pocket size, it's a full size, like textbook. That's 900,000 pages long. It has all of the Supreme Court interpretations wrapped into it. And they call that part of the Constitution. And it's not. It's an opinion. It's the opinion of a handful of people about one particular case. But it's treated like it's law. And it shouldn't be. Tom in Florida, line 1. Welcome to the show, Tom. Tom in Florida.
Yeah, can you hear me on?
I hear you.
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
Fantastic. How are
Peter,
you?
you were talking. Yeah, good. You were talking about the border and all that. I was wondering, all these 6 million, it's almost 7 million illegals, are none of them taking COVID shots when they're at the border?
As far as I know, no.
Border Patrol gives? I mean, they're not giving these illegals border shots, but they're they're bringing them in here by the millions. It's costing American taxpayers almost $84,000 a piece to house these illegals, and that's not counting if they go to community college. Imagine the money that they're spending for each illegal alien to come here. This is absurdity. Joe Biden's committed total dereliction to the Constitution. He should be arrested right away. He's allowed murder. He's fentanyl. He's allowed people to get murdered by angel mothers and fathers. If one is one too many. Biden has committed total dereliction as the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States. This guy should be quartered for what he's done. He's a disgrace. But here, Peter, I want to talk what's going on here in Florida. Governor Ron DeSantis is telling every one of these Venezuelans, if you're here illegally, you're going out of here. Well, these Venezuelans think they should have the special privilege that a Cuban has, which was called the wet foot, dry foot. If you remember, Obama got rid of that. So now these Venezuelans who've allowed their country to turn into socialist nightmare, they want to stay in Florida here. They don't want to go really anywhere else too much except Florida. Well, DeSantis says, no. You come here illegally, you're going to go up to New York, you're going to go to Chicago, or you're going to go out to California or Mexifornia, how you like to prefer it. Now, there's a big problem here in the Venezuela community because the ones that are coming here illegally that are not following the law, they don't know. They're in a catch-22. They're going to be deported out of Florida. DeSantis made that perfectly clear today. You come here illegally in this state, you're going out of this state. And that's what I like, the leadership I like out of that. Now, however...
Hold on, before you move on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before you move on, let me tell you what my opinion about how we should handle this 9, 12, 25, whatever million illegal immigrants in our country. Number one...
Maybe 50.
Yeah, maybe 50, who knows? Every illegal immigrant should be cut off from all benefits. There is no reason for U.S. tax dollars to be paying for an illegal immigrant. They should not be allowed to work. We should. I've said for a long time that the federal government needs to make the what's it called, the online the I-9 I'm allowed to work in this country thing, E-Verify. They have an online version of the I-9 immigration naturalization form number 9 called E-Verify. And if you as an employer use the E-Verify system, then okay, we won't hold you accountable if you happen to hire an illegal immigrant because you were using the tools given to you. But any illegal immigrant who's caught working that didn't go through the I-9 system, well, they get cut off and the employer gets fined or jailed or whatever. Like, there needs to be a punishment for an employer who knowingly hires an illegal immigrant. I don't want to say...
I agree with you, but listen.
I don't want to say go around and round them all up and deport them because that's going to take a crap ton of money and a whole bunch of resources. However, if they so much as get a jaywalking ticket, they should be deported. But that's my thought.
Peter,
go on.
Well, I like your thought. I think it's a great thought, but I have to say this. I would have to go further than you. I would do the Eisenhower plan. You come here illegally, you're going back to your country of origin.
No I agree with that. I agree with that. You stop them at the border, and that's what happens. They go back. But the ones that have already been let in, it would cost way too much money to try to round them all up.
Well, I have to kind of disagree on that, Peter, because I'm going to make this perfectly clear to you. From what I read today on Breitbart Newsmax, it's costing American taxpayers of this country $184 billion a year for all these illegals that are here currently since 2010. Yeah. And if Donald Trump is right, what he's saying, okay, that's $184 billion. So $184 billion, I can believe, could deport every one of them out of here with no questions asked. It might take 3 years to do it, but you could do it. Eisenhower did it from 1954 to 1957. He did it. He got, I think it was almost 2 million out. Now this is a lot bigger operation, but it ain't Operation Wetback. This is Operation on steroids Wetback. And you're going to have to probably spend close to $50 billion to get them all out of here. And the other money that you would be saving, you send it to those countries and you start building infrastructure in their countries, and you make their countries more livable for them. And you know what? I got to tell you this, Peter, and you might agree with this. I think all those countries that these illegals are coming from, they ought to make their official language of those countries English. I'm talking Guatemala, El Salvador, New Panama. Every one of those countries should make their official language not Spanish, but English. And it'll be a lot better for them.
Yeah.
For their economy and for everything. They need to adopt the English language as the official language of Latin America. That's my opinion. Now,
I definitely say step number one is cut off all benefits. Stop giving U.S. tax dollars to any illegal immigrant. Yeah. They're here illegally. That is a crime. Why are we giving them more benefits than you're giving somebody who's on Social Security?
Absolutely, Peter. Absolutely. I totally 100% agree with that. Now, again, I just say Donald Trump, I just heard Donald Trump just now, like 30 minutes ago, say once the first day he's in office, he's going to enact the biggest operation of deportation this country's ever saw, which he's talking about deporting over 25 million illegals out of the country. That was out of his mouth. You can look it up.
Good.
Donald Trump. If it takes 25 million people to be deported, that's what he's going to do.
We've got less than 2 minutes to the break. Did you see that a federal judge has again declared the DACA deferred action for children of whatever unconstitutional?
Yes, Peter. I brought that up on the show 2 weeks ago. The first day it happened. I'm the one that called RBN. Mike, I'm pretty sure knows I'm the one that brought that up to everybody during the first day that the federal judge ruled on the second time that it was unconstitutional DACA. DACA's caca, and they know they need to go back to their country of origin. I'm sorry about if there are kids. Hey, listen, their family came here illegally. You're already a felon. So how can you? Their parents are felons. I don't say the kids are, but how can you want to be in a country like that?
Right.
Now, I feel bad for the kids. I feel really bad for them. So, honest to God, they came here because the parents broke federal law. They didn't do it. But, however, there's consequences for every reaction. For every action, there's a reaction. And, that reaction is, hey, that's what the judge ruled. The judge ruled it unconstitutional. So we'll have to see how it's going to play out with Congress. They'll eventually make the decision with DACA. But I don't believe if they do become, pathway to citizenship, these dreamer kids, I have a dream. Like they have a dream. I have a dream that my country's I'm back in 1972.
Yeah, well, I have a dream of not paying half of my money out in taxes every year. Hey, Tom, got to cut you off. It is just about break time.
Peter.
Thanks for your call.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations to Jeffrey, and thank you for filling out the form to win a copy of a book. Do that at liberty-lighthouse.com. Win a book form right on the homepage there. Giving out 3 copies of books tonight in the last segment of the show. Get your name in the bucket, in the hat, whatever you want to do, just as quick as you can. Liberty-lighthouse.com. Win a book. Be back in 3 minutes with Colonel Mike Ford on the other side.
All that heaven is.
Got the little black car, the little black dress, we got the guru, the trailer, and the full.
You're off air, Peter.
Thank you, sir.
Exploitation. Oh, man. Always Don Henley.
Mr. Mike Ford.
Great bumper music.
Hey, Mike, did you notice that? I think it was last week we got booted from YouTube or blocked or whatever because of bumper music again.
No, I did not know that. What happened?
I meant other bike, but yeah,
Oh.
you know, every now and then they get us a copyright strike and they hide our video until we go through and take out some copyrighted bumper.
So we really we caught a U.S.
It's not a legit strike. It was one of those.
But it blocked in the U.S.
Yeah, your video is not being seen until you do something about it.
Yeah.
You have to go in there and do the cut out this part.
Yeah, I mean they'll do it auto for us, but
Yeah.
Hey, as long as it's not a full strike, I'll see if I can get around to that.
Hey, I'm still surprised that we didn't get more RBN hosts jumping on this whole restream doing live video thing.
Yeah, I kind of think that, I don't know, most people may not really be ready to go video, and maybe they just have bandwidth issues where they're not even going to bother trying to add more to their pipeline during their live show. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it is a handful.
It's hard. This is herding cats, man. It's hard to do that.
Yeah. Well, it is definitely a handful to sit here and try to do all of this stuff at once.
Yeah.
Like
by
right
the
now,
way, FYI, I'm phasing out the whole Intel report thing. I'm trying to get a standard 5-day a week host set up here in the next month and a half or 2 months. So
oh yeah,
I might be phasing you out like a regular spot.
You know, I've been kind of questioning whether or not I fit in RBN anyway lately.
Well, some people like to give you some business about it, but I think you have a very strong presence that's necessary for us here, and I don't, with you have some restrictions on when you can do your show and all that kind of stuff. So right. I'm not sure if we can get you back in here somewhere or not, or if it,
you can certainly run me as a pre-record on the weekends or something like that if you want to.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Hey, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. I let our weekend long-term board op producer Sam handle a lot of the weekend stuff pretty much on his own. So if he has any open spots, I mean, I know he'd love to have something he can just plug in because he likes to have a little break in the long shift. And we'll definitely keep you in mind on that. But I'll fill you in as we get closer. But, just a little FYI. I don't want to spring anything on anybody at the last minute.
Well, here's the deal. Whether I'm on RBN or not, I'm still going to record on Thursday nights because it's the only time the beautiful wife is out of the house.
Sounds good. Yeah, I figured that. All right, man. All right, we're back. Here we go.
Oh.
Sundown shining in.
Hey, welcome back. I hope that commercial break wasn't too long for you. I know you missed me. No, you didn't. Nobody misses me. I question whether or not my wife misses me. Anyway, I'm Peter Serafine. I'm your host for this evening here on National Intel Report on Republic Broadcasting Network or Liberty Lighthouse on Mojo 50 Radio, Patriot Nation Radio Network, and every place else you hear or see the show. I want you to remember that free speech is not free, and I need you to support this free speech network, whatever network you're listening from. Support this network, share out links, tell people that you're watching or listening, whatever you're watching or listening to. And I promised you a guest on the other side of the break, and, well, I try not to lie to you very often. We've got Colonel Mike Ford, a managing editor of American Free News Network.
Attend hut! Welcome back in studio, retired Colonel Mike Ford, managing editor of American Free News Network.
Welcome to the show, sir.
All right, I'm awake. I'm definitely awake. Reveille there, and I'm awake.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to point out to you something real quick. One of your listeners on the comments said, "Peter, I started listening to Republic Broadcasting Network just because of you."
I saw that. I just saw that. That's Sarah.
That's pretty good. You're doing it right, pal.
That's Sarah in Oregon. She was listening to me back when I was on the Mojo 50 Radio Network. Was the only place you could find me. that in podcast form. And when I picked up this here spot on Republic Broadcasting Network, she was kind enough to follow over and started listening to the show. And she's a regular caller, and well, she constantly, if you look up a couple of messages in the chat there, you'll see that she also shared out on Facebook, Twitter, Thread, TLB Talk, True Social, and Getter, shared out the show.
Well, obviously she's a lady of some distinction, so that's good.
Well, I don't know. She likes me, so I mean, what kind of taste can she really have?
Well, yeah, there may be a judgment issue there, but we won't go there.
Well, Colonel, what's going on over there at American Free News Network lately?
Well, we've got all kinds of things going on. We're bringing more people on board. We are well north of 80 sometime authors right now. That's somebody that what I call a sometime author is somebody that has put at least 3 articles in within the last few months. So we're doing
qualified there.
Yeah, we're doing pretty well. I was interested to come on today because I'm very, very concerned. And your last caller there just kind of tied into what I wanted to kind of talk about, and that's the rule of law. Some time ago, I got to thinking about why companies would want to base in America, even though they pay a little bit more for regulation and pay a little bit more for taxes, and they have, a few more restrictions. And I came up to what I call the America Premium. If you go to a place like China, the first thing they do is, they'll let you operate there for a while, but then the first thing they do is rip off your intellectual property and steal your copyrights and your trademarks and other intellectual property.
All right, Colonel, I got to ask you to stop and check out this comment that just came through. It is the perfect solution to both the border crisis and the Ukrainian problem. Take the 25 million illegal immigrants, or 30 million, or 50 million, or how many of them are in this country, load them up and send them to Ukraine. Poof! 2 problems solved, one answer. Love it.
That actually would do the job. No question about it. Getting back to my point, companies are willing to pay a certain amount for the rule of law. If they operate in a hole like and no adverb prior to the whole or the adjective, place like Venezuela or Cuba, anytime the government changes hands, somebody can come in and take what you've built, and that doesn't happen very often here in America. So companies are willing to pay for that rule of law, and I call that the America Premium. The problem is the rule of law has gone sideways. I watched our Attorney General say on TV today, and I got viscerally angry that we don't have a double standard. We don't treat one person different than another person. We don't treat them different because of party. We don't treat them different because of station. We don't treat them different because, and that's just patently wrong. This Attorney General is imprisoning grandmothers for strolling through the Capitol building, taking selfies with the guards that let them in the door. Yep. I watched it happen. Okay, I watched it happen, and this is the type of thing that got Mussolini hung from a lamppost.
Right. We got. Was it? They rounded up like 3,000 of these January 6th protesters, insurrectionists. They rounded up like 3,000 of them in a matter of a couple of months. Locked them all up, many of them for a year or more, without even so much as a hearing.
At worst misdemeanor trespass.
Right. And then they give them, like, Enrique Torres. It's not Torres. What is it?
I know you're talking about the head of the Proud Boys.
Yeah. They gave
that white supremacy organization led by a Latino. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Thank you, producer Mike. Enrique Tarrio. And I can never remember his name. I always want to say Torres. I know that's probably, something racist inside me, but Enrique Tarrio, who got 22 years or 25 years or something like that. 22
years in prison, basically.
And he wasn't even there. He wasn't even there. But But on the other side of the political aisle, you've got this junior Biden fella who has, all kinds of felonies that he videotaped himself doing.
Yeah.
And nobody's done anything. And here it is, like 5 years later, they finally indicted him on a gun charge.
And the reason they indict him on the gun charge is because that doesn't tie him to his daddy.
Uh-huh.
Gun charge is just a single. Doesn't, it has nothing to do with the corruption, money laundering, or any of that other stuff. Let me walk with me a second here, because there's some things tying together. Your last caller there, first of all, it starts with language. They are not immigrants of any kind.
Mm-mm.
Okay, they are illegal aliens, and that is the proper diplomatic and immigration term. Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
They don't belong here, and if they are adults, they are criminals.
Mm-hmm.
If they are children, if they are brought here as children, okay, then they're innocent victims. The minute they turn 18 and don't leave, they are now criminals. Okay, let's get that right.
I don't know about that part though, because if you're, let's say you're 2, and mommy and daddy bring you here, and this is the only place you've ever known.
Doesn't matter. It's if you know you were brought here. Now, if you don't know, that's a different story. You can't be charged, the mens rea thing. If you don't have the criminal intent, you shouldn't be charged. But if it's the only thing they've ever known, I'm sorry. Case by case, maybe. But we always seem to look at those very, very minuscule things and then try to make policy on the basis of those.
Absolutely agreed. Yeah.
Here's the thing we run into on that. You don't get to claim compassion points when you write checks out of my checkbook. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to claim compassion points, Pete, you write your check, but you don't force me to write a check. And when I push back on it, call me non-compassionate. Okay. I'm compassionate as all get out, but just don't put a gun to my head to do it.
Right.
And I don't put a gun to another taxpayer's head. But going back on this, when we look at all this rule of law, what do we tell the people who have waited in line to get their citizenship, or I'm sorry, to get the right to come here on an immigrant visa? Biden has just turned around and is giving employment cards, green cards, to some of these folks.
Yeah.
Okay. So they have the right now to work in the United States. Now, what does that do? Well, if you increase the supply of labor, what does that do to the price of labor?
It goes down. Duh.
There you go. Okay. So basically, Joe Biden, by writing that executive order to go ahead and allow these folks to have work visas, he's basically increasing the labor supply, which is going to go ahead and drop the price of that labor.
But again, he's writing, it's an unconstitutional executive order.
That's
Congress makes the rules, the Congress passes the laws about naturalization. They get to decide who gets a green card and who doesn't, not the president.
That's correct. The rule of law. And that's it's going on. The absence of the rule of law is just it's expanding. It's terrible. It's with immigration. It's with the military right now. We have a Secretary of Defense who is with malice and forethought, and he's being backed up by a chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff who is willfully violating the law against federal funding of abortions. He is saying that he will allow female soldiers to go TDY to a state that allows abortion past a certain time, and he will pay their TDY costs, and he will pay their travel and all that other stuff. That's federal funding. That is illegal, and he's doing it. And then they wonder why our great senator from the great state of Alabama, Tommy Tuberville, is holding up officer appointments.
Yeah. And what a lot of people aren't getting about that is that Tuberville isn't saying, no, we can't do this. Tuberville is saying, no, we're going to do them one at a time.
Yes.
We're going to review each individual person. And instead of saying, hey, we're going to vote on this whole list of people all at once.
And for general officers, maybe they ought to interview them one at a time.
They should.
Flag officers, at least the 3-star and above level. Below that, maybe. Okay, but the 3-star and above level, every one of them ought to have to sit in front of the Armed Services Committee and answer questions.
Absolutely.
What makes you qualified to be a Corps commander? So yeah, no, I'm absolutely happy with that. And it turns out Senator Tuberville has a lot more juice than Senator Schumer, because Schumer backed down on that. And now they're doing them one at a time. So I would rather have them go the hard road on that, though, and actually have to sit in front of a committee. Each general officer appointee ought to have to sit in front of the Armed Services Committee and answer questions.
I agree. It's like a job interview.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, if those guys are going to lead me and they're going to lead my soldiers, then they need to have their stuff together.
I mean, maybe if we did that more often, we wouldn't end up with, 4-star generals that want to understand white rage.
And we wouldn't understand with a female just being promoted to 1-star at her promotion ceremony. I watched this happen. She was being promoted to 1-star. They pinned her star on, and she gets to make a few remarks. She's doing this in front of her unit commander and the chief of the Army Reserve, and she admits to an integrity violation where she got the course director of Command and General Staff College to give her 4 attempts to get a single question right on a final exam so she could get promoted. And she admitted to that integrity violation in front of three flag officers. Until that point, I had met, 1 or 2 flag officers that I didn't really care for, and a couple that I thought were borderline venal, but I had never met a stupid one until that point. At that point, I had met my first stupid flag officer.
Oh, man. All right. This is a good point. I want to remind everybody, I'm going to say this a whole bunch of times for the next couple hours. I am giving away 3 books, 1 copy of each of my 3 books toward the end of the show. And in order to get your name in the hat to win one of those 3 books, go to liberty-lighthouse.com, click the win a book button, put in your info there. And toward the end of this show, so a little before 8:00 Eastern time, we're going to pick names, and I'll be putting 3 books in the mail. So liberty-lighthouse.com, click the win a book feature. I think we're up to a big whopping 10 people in that list so far. So your odds are pretty good if you're a gambling type. Newsbreak headline that literally just came up on my phone. Confused Biden walks into the flag, then appears to anger Brazilian president with handshake snub at the UN.
Yeah, did you see that? I saw that. It looked like it wasn't that he was snubbing anybody. He was just addled and confused, and he basically walked off the stage. Generally when you're having a joint press conference, you look over at your counterpart, you grip and grin a little bit, and then at the end of it, you shake hands and, do what you're going to do. Most times you actually walk up to a podium together, and the president gives his guest the time to speak first, and the president chit-chats a little bit or whatever, or vice versa. But here, he just kind of wandered off in a daze. I don't think there was any deliberate snub, but I tell you right now, if I was that country's president, I'd like, who am I dealing with here, and can I trust this guy? And I'm not talking about the integrity part. Can I trust him to remember the deal that we just shook on?
Right. Can you trust him to remember if it's Thursday, or is one of the show hosts on one of the other shows is Biden doesn't know if it's Tuesday or chocolate.
Well, yeah. And vacuum cleaners too.
Yeah. I don't understand that. I honestly don't understand how they suckered enough people into voting for this guy. He was and always has been a puppet for his party.
Well,
and everybody knows that his party.
Very bright.
Yeah.
But the other part of this is how many people really pay attention to this stuff. I believe that nobody really starts paying attention to the presidential election until about 6 months out.
He's always been, for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
He has been a puppet for the Democrat Party.
Sure.
So what did anybody think was going to happen when the Democrat Party jumped off the crazy cliff? And then they put the party puppet up for president. Of course, he's going to jump off the crazy cliff with them. That's what he's always done.
Sure. And it's the same thing with the senator from Pennsylvania, Fetterman. Okay. Yeah. People like to think a senator is going to be considering things and thinking about stuff. Well, the Democrats look at their senators. No, it's a vote, period. As long as somebody can whisper in his ear, vote yay or nay, that's all they care about. The only ones that actually do any thinking and maneuvering are those that are running the committees and of course the party leaders, or whether they're the the president of the Senate or the minority leader.
Did you see that they changed the dress code because of Fetterman?
Yeah, think about that. Folks say that's a minor thing. This is the Senate of the United States. 100 people. And you can't, you're one of 100 people. It's a great honor to serve there. It's not a right. It's an honor. And this guy walks in there in a hoodie and shorts to preside over the Senate.
Yeah.
He's effectively when he sits in that chair, he's effectively representing the vice president of the United States, because the vice president of the United States shall be the president of the Senate, and he's representing her, and he can't even dress for the part.
Yeah. And I don't understand why anybody would agree to change the dress code over one slob. I mean, if you want to loosen the dress code, if you want to say, you don't have to have a tie, I'd be okay with that. But jacket required. You need to have a jacket.
I wouldn't be okay with that. I think for the Senate, you need to dress the part. Do you want your thoracic surgeon to come in there on your first office call with him to be dressed in in jams, a polka dot shirt and a striped tie and a set of Mickey Mouse ears? No.
Did you say jams? How old are you?
I did. I prefer not to say how old I am. I don't say years old. I say that this December I will be fully qualified at level 65. Sounds like more of an achievement then, as opposed to 65 years old.
Well, you're old enough to remember what jams were.
Yeah. I'm old enough to have worn them.
Yeah, me too.
That's pretty bad.
You young folks out there that don't know what they are, do a little Google search and see what.
No, don't make them do that. Don't make them. They will never be able to unsee that.
I remember one particular pair I had that were green, and I don't remember the design that was on them, but there were black polka dots and they were green, and there was something else on them, but they kind of looked like watermelon rinds.
Okay, side story here. When I was going to a particular Army staff course at one time, it was called CAS Cubed. It was commanders, staff officers orientation course, or whatever. Anyway, it was basically, they called it the Staff Officers Ranger School because you spent lots of hours putting together projects and briefings and all that. But one of the things they did to do team building is each staff group had a volleyball team. Well, our team decided that we were going to have the most obnoxious uniform possible. So each of us went out and bought our own pair of jams that we liked. And then we had a friend, one of the guys on the team was stationed in Hawaii. So he called his wife. He got everybody's shirt sizes and brought a bunch of Hawaiian shirts that absolutely contrasted with the jams. And then, of course, each of us wore some certain headgear that we wanted to wear. And mine was, an Army patrol cap. But, I mean, we were the most obnoxious volleyball team to ever take the court. So for whatever that's worth.
Yeah. Well, I have a volleyball story that involves Tijuana, and I'm not sure that it's radio appropriate. Anyway, all of you out there in the radio land, it is a live call-in show. We are talking to retired Colonel Mike Ford, managing editor of American Free News Network. You can call into the show 512-248-8252. And if you would prefer to send me a message but don't want to be on the air, you can text 64 my rights. That's 646-974-4487. And thank you to Dean for filling out the form, entering in a chance to win one of the 3 books that we're giving away later tonight. Colonel Ford, tell me about a story on American Free News Network that you particularly caught your eye.
Well, it's a story that is probably going to go up tomorrow or the next day. And it's about our Flag Officer Corps and how they have gone just totally off the reservation. Let me see if I can pull up the title yet. I'm still fooling with the title on this rascal.
Did you recently see that Howard Stern like proudly embraced the label of being woke?
Yeah, I saw that.
That's ridiculous. Howard Stern, the shock jock, the guy who made his millions thumbing his nose at society, and now he's a woke liberal.
I don't get
Whatever.
that. I really don't.
It's because that's who he got rich and he started hanging out with the woke liberals.
Well,
So he
maybe,
became one of them.
maybe that's it. I just, you know, a lot of times what you can do is follow the money. Now that doesn't obtain with somebody like Oprah Winfrey, who has a gazillion dollars, so she can do what she wants absent the money.
She has the FU money.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that Fox uniform. That's correct. But at a certain level, it's all about follow the money, and you can usually figure that out. Howard Stern has figured out he can probably get some money by tapping into that. And if you look at it, something just popped up today that I was looking at. The Clintons are at it again.
Yeah.
You know, they sucked down some grift from Haiti, and she showed up on the runway down there, by the way. And when the cameras were not present, okay, and one of my friends was actually there. I got down there a couple of days later, but he was there. He was standing there to brief. He was another colonel like me. He was there to brief her on what we were doing. And when there were no cameras present, she said, "Well, I don't want to talk to you. We're going to go ahead and head over to Dom Rep where the digs are nicer, and we'll come back later." So
yeah.
But anyway,
we can talk about the new Clinton grift that's going to be going on here, or that has begun, in just a second. Let's let Sarah in Oregon in on the show. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Hello, Sarah.
Hi. Please share the show out. Be supportive. If you can't be an athlete, be an athletic supporter. Thanks. Bye. And also, be kind and rewind. Bye, ladies, babies, and in-betweens. Bye.
Bees, thank you very much, Sarah. Love that. If you can't be an athlete, be an athletic supporter. I can't hear you, Mike. I think you muted yourself.
Be kind, rewind, Men in Black 2. Great flick.
All right. So the new we've got 4 or 5 minutes before the next commercial break. So the new Clinton Haiti-esque grift that's going on, for those that may or may not remember, the Clinton Foundation, as in Hillary Clinton, they collected millions of dollars to go down and rebuild Haiti after was it a hurricane or an earthquake? I forget. Earthquake. After the earthquake, they were supposed to go down there and rebuild Haiti. They collected millions and millions of dollars to do it.
I was there. They didn't do squat.
I think they built like 3 houses, 3 shacks. Of course, they siphoned off all the money as, operating expenses and salaries for executives and all this other kind of stuff. Millions of dollars that was donated. Well, now it just so happens that the Clinton Foundation has decided that they're going to rebuild Ukraine. And
can I give the class a little tutorial on this real quick?
Absolutely. You got 3 to 4 minutes before break. So if you can fit it in 3 or 4 minutes, go for it.
I can do that. It's not just about money going directly in their pockets, because if they get money directly in their pockets, what do they got to do?
Claim it.
Well, they got to claim it and pay taxes on it.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that they can do is enhance their lifestyle with that money without paying taxes on it. And one of the things that they can do is campaign on it without being declared candidates and therefore coming to the attention of the Federal Election Commission. Mm-hmm. So what they do is they form a foundation like this, and all these Arab sheikhs and all these other people put money into it. And her steatopygiousness, everybody should look up that word steatopigia. It's a great word. You should use it early and often when applied to Hillary Clinton. Her steatopygiousness decides to fly around somewhere. She's going to fly on a private jet paid with donor money of the Clinton Foundation. and she can do all these things and live a very high lifestyle, but will not have to pay one dime of income tax on it. And she's going to do the same thing with Ukraine. They're going to fly back and forth. She's going to get on TV and do all these things. People are going to donate money. Clinton Foundation is going to put all, maybe for every dollar that hits the ground and actually does something in Ukraine, there's going to be probably $20 to $100 that are going to operating expenses, which is the private jet, the nice hotels, the suites, the masseuses, the ladies that come in there to be with her at night, to hold her or whatever she's going to do.
Or Bill.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a big part of the grift of nonprofit organizations.
Yeah. Direct money into your hands. That's what you and I got. We get money directly from whoever's paying us to us, but at that level, they're much more sophisticated.
Yeah. Sophisticated.
Yeah.
Shady is a better word.
Well, there's some other ones, but this is, probably a family-friendly show, so I'm going to be.
We try to be family-friendly. Ish. Anyway, we're talking with retired Colonel Mike Ford, managing editor of American Free News Network. It is break time. We're going to be back in 3 minutes. Colonel's going to stick around. We've got him for one more segment. Get your dial-in fingers ready. Call in, ask him some questions. Be back in 3 minutes, my friends.
We must take America back. We need friends.
You're clear.
Thanks. Yeah. Mike, I just recently was thinking about this. Do I fit in on RBN?
Oh, you talking to me?
Yeah. We had 3 or 4 people tell me to go listen to Mike Gaddy, and I listened to like 4 hours or 6 hours of Mike Gaddy, and I'm like, I like some of what he says, but he's insulting.
Hey, listen, man. I know we're going out to the few that may be listening to the live streams, but I'm not afraid to say, hey, we have a wide range of opinions and styles and worldviews, and I try to keep the controversy and the infighting to as minimum as possible, but yeah, it's going to happen. And believe me, your show and whatever anybody wants to say about where you are in your development or understanding, I think it's as perfectly valid as anything else. And yeah, see where you're going to get that. You're not someone that's sort of on RBN, like you're relatively new, and your stance is solid. And your delivery and style is, I think, perfect. So I don't have any complaints, but yeah, some people are like, oh, it doesn't fit in or this and that. No, I'm more inclined to think that some people go a little too far in some of their things, and
Well, that's how I feel about it. I think everybody I've listened to, I can't say everybody, that's an exaggeration. A lot of the people that I've listened to on RBN go a lot farther than I'm willing to go.
Yeah, and that's fine. And and frankly, if you go as far, relatively speaking, as any of these people go, you're going to get even more pushback from the other side. And no one's immune to this. I mean, it's a rare thing to have somebody that we literally don't get any kind of pushback or a complaint here and there about, and I think the network is growing in as far as the reach and, of the different styles and different world views, if you want to put it that way, I guess. And I have no complaints about you being here. I'm like I was trying to sort of touch on. It's just that it's been 2 years since John died. I got to move on from the National Intel Report thing. And I've got, some things that we're going to do differently to sort of stabilize the lineup. And I mean, that's just a it's just a technical kind of
Oh, yeah, I
production
get it.
sort of thing. It's not nothing personal against anybody. It's not like I'm like, oh boy, can't wait to get rid of these guys. It's more of a, well, we need to move it into something that's frankly just easier to produce, and also hopefully maybe I know this is very technical, but I'd love to be able to patch into your show if you still do it live at the same time. Maybe we can patch in just like as a guest.
Oh yeah,
on
like
your
simulcast
show.
kind of thing.
Yeah, and then we could have a big segment in there, same time, same bat channel, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Hey, Mike.
simulcasting.
Hey, Mike, this is Mike Ford. Got a second?
Yeah, I mean, we're into the intro, but yeah, we can take some time here.
Just hit me at mike-ford@msn.com, mike-ford@msn.com. I'd like to do something along with Pete, some sort of combined thing that we could put together. And maybe me and Pete could talk about this offline and work something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, stay in touch with Peter. It's going to be at least a month and a half. Like I said, I'm thinking maybe after John's passing, sort of memorial on November 5th. That's like a Sunday. That's actually daylight savings change or whatever, just for your notes there. But might do a couple of weeks where everybody that's doing the intel report, we can have sort of that special kind of transition period there. So we'll see. I mean, I don't have anything hard coded yet. We'll work it out over the next few weeks, and just stay in touch with Peter.
I will.
You can send me an email, mike@republicbroadcasting.org. If you want to pop your email in there, I'll shoot you an email just to make contact in the chat there on the stream. We'll be in touch for sure. Yeah, I'd love to have you guys around. I don't want to miss out on any of the content. Everybody's doing a lot of hard work, and I appreciate everybody that's been filling in for the last 2 years. So I don't want to lose any of that. All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Kick some butt.
Office. What they believe doesn't
Welcome back to the top of the second hour of National Intel Report live on Republic Broadcasting Network, Liberty Lighthouse, and Mojo 50 Radio, Patriot Nation Radio Network, and everywhere else you find the show. I've got retired Colonel Mike Ford, managing editor of American Free News Network, with us. But before we move on, I want to tell everybody you got about 30 minutes left to enter the drawing to win a copy of one of my 3 books. I'm going to be drawing to give them away, one of each, here in the next half hour, 45 minutes. You enter the drawing at liberty-lighthouse.com and click on the win a book button right at the top of the homepage there, liberty-lighthouse.com. Get your name in the hat within the next 45 minutes, and you got a pretty good chance of winning a book. And we're going to do this again next week too. So if you're listening on, say, Mojo 50 Radio, and you're listening on Saturday and you're thinking, dang it, I missed it. Well, you still go in there, put your name in the hat. I'm going to do it again next week too. All right, Colonel Ford, tell me why the people out there listening should be going to afnn.us every day.
Well, because we are a citizen-driven network. Some time ago, a bunch of retired military folks, some folks out of the intel community, and some folks out of business got tired of being censored by Facebook and Twitter and the other Hitler Youth, and formed a company called American Free News Network. And the board of directors, in the most singular case of just bad judgment I've ever seen in my life, made me the CEO and managing editor. I don't know what they were thinking.
Well, you've got 2 titles.
Well, yeah. Ooh, and you've seen my corner office, so you know what that looks like.
I don't know. If you're the CEO and the managing editor, you must be just raking in some cash.
I am. Well, the CEO makes one piece, and then the managing editor makes another piece, and together, they both make the same thing. And when you double that, you get the same thing, because I make 0 for one, 0 for the other, times 2 is 0. Okay. Everybody on the site is a volunteer. Actually, I think they have to pay me like $1 a year to be the CEO as an employee or whatever. There's some rules or whatever. But the only people that are getting paid on the site the psychopath that we hired down in South Florida that runs the back end and the ones and zeros to make the website actually work, and some folks that actually help us promote the articles that we do. But all the writers are volunteers. I'm essentially a volunteer, and my deputy editor is a volunteer. The reason you should go to AFNN is because AFNN.us is because we're not throttled. We are not a censor platform. What we are is an organization that teaches civics, whether it's from the Sam Adams end of talking about what's going on day to day and why it's wrong, to the John Adams end, where we're talking about the principles that undergird the Constitution and enable you to hold a conversation with your idiot sister-in-law over Thanksgiving dinner. Okay. And we are always looking for citizen writers. So you can hit me at managing editor at afnn.us, managing editor at afnn.us. Send me a note. We would love to publish whatever you want to write. We're all about the citizen writer. It's a matter of getting citizens to have their voices heard, as opposed to the pundits that you see on the TV that are telling you stuff that just ain't true.
And your standards for writers must not be very high, because you've published several of my articles.
Actually, you're one of our better writers. You actually do pretty well. I got to admit. I hate to admit it, but because I don't really like you that much. But you do a really good job when you write.
I don't know about that. Anyway, I want to talk about that thing you're drinking there. You got yourself a drink smoker.
I do. Let me tell you what I just got back from. This last weekend, I went up to Kentucky to the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. You should know this because you're one of our fellow travelers, but American Free News Network has a number of folks we consider fellow travelers. No money changes hands. We don't do any of that. It's just people that we believe espouse our values. So your show and your writings espouse our values. Well, some other folks that espouse our values are the David Webb Show, who's on Sirius XM 125 every day from 9 to noon 9 to noon Eastern time. And another group is Deployment Cigars, who sell cigars for profit, and then they take the profits and give a chunk of them to charities that involve military and first responders. So we went up to the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, and I hate to admit this, and I hope there's not a whole lot of witnesses here. For the whole weekend, I didn't drink a drop. But we were busy selling cigars and talking to David Webb and just talking about Americanism and a whole bunch of things. And one of the things I learned up there was how to do a smoker in your bourbon just to make it taste delicious.
Yeah, I got one of those for Christmas, and like 4 different little things of different kinds of wood chips. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, isn't it great?
But wait a minute, you were in Bourbon County, Kentucky for multiple days.
I was.
And did not.
Gornish, zero, Zebla, zip, none.
Wow. That's some willpower.
It was terrible. That's why I'm trying to make up for it now. But let me go over and get my Bible.
So anyway, during the break, the Colonel ran off camera to get himself a little bit more bourbon, and he came back, and I noticed that for one, he's using whiskey stones in his glass, so not ice, frozen rocks to keep his whiskey cold, and then he put a smoker on top of it. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I have my my whiskey smoker. I haven't used it in quite a while. Now that I think about it, I'm gonna have to dig it back out.
You should. And when you go to buy wood chips for your smoker that you're going to smoke your brisket or whatever, you can pick up all the chips that you need and carve your own, as opposed to paying $20 for a little tin about this big.
Yeah,
you could go make your own for about $2.
Well, most of my family apparently, they know me. This last Christmas season, my 30-year-old daughter bought me a rocks glass that has a indentation in the side of the rocks glass, so I can hold my whiskey and my cigar in one hand without crushing my cigar.
We were actually selling those at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival.
My beautiful wife got me a one of them there drink smokers with 4 of those little tins of 4 different kinds of wood to smoke with it.
You should marry her again.
And let's see what else. Some of my customers on my mail route gave me cigars. My best friend at work gave me a couple of really nice cigars, like nicer ones that I would buy for myself. So everybody who really knows me either really likes me or wants me to die a slow, painful death from cancer and alcoholism, one of the two.
That's all right. I could think of worse ways to die.
Now, we were talking about, American Free News Network and articles there, and I'm trying to think. I think I'm up. I think I'm hoping. I think I have an article that's going to post tomorrow. If not, then I have fallen behind. But I'm trying to check that all in too many things at once. La, 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 la.
All right. Well, I have one coming up tomorrow, and it will post at 9:00 Eastern time. The continuing politicization of military officers. Now, it's a redux with a little addendum on the front talking about Austin and Milley. But, one of the things that has gained the respect of the American public for the military, especially post-Vietnam, where it was not there, is that the military was going to follow the Constitution, wasn't going to be political, and was going to get the job done. And we started gaining some of that respect with Grenada. That was kind of like preseason. And then we went and did some other things, and that worked out. And then we went to Desert Storm, and that was kind of like the Super Bowl. And the military got its respect back. And when we went to Iraq, we did what we needed to do. When we went to Afghanistan, we did what we needed to do as a military. It wasn't until the Bushies and their nation building, and then of course Obama, and then of course Biden, kind of tore everything apart. Our military is in a bad way right now. It's been decades of war. I mean, I went
decades and decades and decades.
My team crossed the berm from Kuwait into Iraq over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Our military has yet to recover from all the things that we had to do there. And then our political leaders are making it even worse because we are focusing on things like, well, I woke up this morning and I don't think I'm a guy, even though I have the equipment for a guy. I think I'm a girl. Well, how is that going to win a war with China, who, I'm telling you, when they fight wars, they don't care about human life, their own even. Okay?
That's what a war
My
is.
father was there in Korea and watched bodies stacked up like cordwood. They don't care. We keep judging our adversaries on our metrics. Okay, we care about human life. We care enough that we want to let people live this, that, and the other. The Chinese don't care about that. They don't care about your pronouns. They will kill you, DED, dead, which is seriously killed.
Hey, like I said in my first book, when I was serving, I didn't care if the guy next to me thought he was a transgendered purple aardvark, as long as he did his job and had my back. I don't really care. But that doesn't mean that the military should be catering to them either.
Yeah. And most folks in the military believe that as long as there's some ambiguity. If somebody is a declared homosexual, we don't want them showering with us. If there's ambiguity there, then it's okay. But once the ambiguity is gone, then you run into some severe problems. Basically, Democrat policies have created 27 additional sexes, and and as a commander, you can't manage that when you're trying to manage housing. You can't manage it.
No, there's two. I you can say whatever you want. There's two, and even if you want to say, okay, there are 27 other genders.
No, wait a minute.
Bathrooms and housing and everything else is done by sex, not gender. So go ahead.
That's right. Gender is a social thing,
Right.
and it has to do with mostly with language studies. There are two biological sexes. There's
Right.
male and female. Any ambiguity is an aberration. When we use the term gender, what we are doing is assisting the leftists. Never ever use gender except in scare quotes and to poke them in the chest.
Well, it
Always use
depends on what you're
sex.
talking about. I mean, it's the people that are promoting the I don't want to use I don't know how else to say it, but those that are promoting the transgendered agenda that are the ones who said that gender is a social construct and gender and sex are two different things.
They are.
Okay, so if gender and sex are two different things, when I fill out a job application, it says sex. It doesn't say gender. Your driver's license, it says sex, not gender.
Yes.
Your birth certificate says sex, not gender.
If you
Gender
wake up in
shouldn't
the
matter.
morning,
Gender shouldn't matter for anything.
That's right. If you wake up in the morning and believe that your biological sex is different than your chromosomes, DNA, and OEM indicate, there's something wrong with you. It's that simple. That's not bigoted. That's called science.
OEM.
Well, that's the best way I can put it.
Right. We've got somebody in the chat room over here that's being a little argumentative with us. Says that we're being bigots, and imagine serving in the armed forces and being this fragile. Well, we both served in the armed forces, and there's nothing fragile about it. It's facts. It's biology. It's 6,000 years of human biology versus the last 30 years of gender fluid psychotherapy nonsense. Sex is sex, gender is gender, according to you. So, what's the
Gender is used in language studies. Her Majesty Queen Teresa is started out as a Spanish teacher and then ended up as a high school principal. Gender studies are, Spanish language has three genders: male, female, and neuter. Okay, but that's not biology. The human species has two sexes, male and female. Anything other than that is an aberration. It's just that simple. It's called science.
Yeah, I just again use their own terminology. They're the ones who say that gender and sex are different.
Yeah.
So just use sex. It's not women's sports. It's female sports.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Hey, we got Reb in Colorado on line 1. Welcome to the show, Reb. Reb. Well, maybe we don't have Reb in Colorado. Anyway, I managed to look up. I have an article posting on my own site here tomorrow, as usual, Friday 6 a.m. I don't remember if I have submitted it to you yet.
Well, send it. Need more good stuff from you.
All right. Well, the one that's going up, the one that I have going up tomorrow, I just accidentally closed it out and I can't read the title of it, but it's something to the effect of our founders' fears, how our government has turned into exactly what our founding fathers were afraid of.
Well, yeah. And that doesn't surprise me a bit, given how people try to look at things now, and they try to. There's somebody told me one time, I forget who it was somebody smarter than I am, which isn't a very high bar. It says, if you're having to explain it for an hour, you're probably doing it wrong, because most simple truths are just that simple. Water is wet. What is it? What does Bruce Willis said in The Last Boy Scout? Water is wet and women have secrets, or whatever. Simple truisms.
I don't remember that one, but anyway, I want everybody to check out the Liberty Lighthouse Classroom. I haven't gotten a whole lot of work done on it lately, but there's about 18 hours worth of courses from Institute on the Constitution there that I have managed to put together. Liberty Lighthouse Classroom is what it's called. Go to liberty-lighthouse.com/classroom. There are 2 full courses and a third one that I'm in the process of working on. So right now there's about 18 hours worth of courses that you can take there. And one of them is free to a pastor. So if you're a pastor and you want to take one of the courses for free, just contact me, hit the chat button right there on the website. I'll give you a special code to get you into the course for free. And yeah, Liberty Lighthouse Classroom. This is actually my passion, is teaching. I would love to find a way to quit the radio, quit the weekly article, book writing, or the book writing and the article writing, and do teaching. I'd love to find a way to just teach the Constitution and make enough money to live on. But I don't have a big enough name. I don't have a giant following.
You don't have a big enough name yet.
Well, I've been doing this show for like 5 years, and I've still got the same 24 people that listen to me. Anyway, it looks like our caller Reb is back online. Reb, are you there?
Yeah, I was here before. I guess we lost the audio for U.S. Pentagon First Team Bubba Scout Reb. Remember, your fate depends on you. 703-697-9121. We don't call in because we're bored. We want to win a war, and America's at war. Have you got a problem with the war America's fighting, or are you not sure we're at war? I don't know. Either you have a problem that we're fighting a war in America, or you don't know we're having a war in America.
Well, it's not. It hasn't turned into a kinetic war yet.
Wait, hold on. How do you know that? It is a kinetic war. People are getting murdered every day. That's what we found out. Turned over to the Defense Intelligence Agency, and they don't do favors for anybody. They took it to JAG and the Joint Chiefs because we got evidence. Just because you don't hear about the murders going on, generals are telling us, gee, more people are dying every year than they died in World War II from this fentanyl. What did you think that was? That's a murder. That's killing people. They do it with this dope. You didn't see the bomb drop, so you didn't know that they're killed. They have millions of ways to exaggerate. They got multiple ways to kill you.
I'll give you that one. Fentanyl's killing roughly 100,000 people a year. That is more people than all of Vietnam, and more people.
What about the virus needles? Oh, you forgot about them already.
Nobody forgot about any of this stuff. Reb, settle down, my friend. Nobody forgot about it. Just because some group of idiots is pushing something that happens to kill people, that's been going on forever.
Well, that's why we're at war. One more thing. The border's overrun. That doesn't happen in P-C time. I can't even say the word. You don't have overrun borders when there's no instability.
Okay, so what are we doing? What's your suggestion?
Fight back. I don't know. Who thought of that? Let me see. It must have been, it goes back to the early days of ancient civilization and the Greeks. They said, well, what do we do here? We're going to fight back. And then the arms race started.
Define fight back. Define fight back, because everybody thinks they're fighting. There are people that, like me, that write books and articles and do radio shows, and we think we're fighting for the cause of freedom.
Well, hold on. They had those people back then, too. And they wrote their little sermons or whatever on the little parchment or chiseled them in a rock. They didn't fight the war. They had people with spears, and then the latest was they tied up the catgut and they launched it. They had to launch. They had a war program, and they had a development program, and they had an arms race. But they really were fighting, marching around, killing each other with swords. We're still at that level, and you don't understand it. What you're doing is what authors do, what balladeers do, or whatever.
Okay, if it wasn't for people like me, let's say during the American Revolution, if it wasn't for the black robe regiments and the people writing the pamphlets and the newspapers and all that other kind of stuff, there never would have been an American Revolution.
The Sam Adamses, the John Adamses, Thomas Paines, all of them. That's correct.
First of all, that's not what was fighting the war. You're getting out of order.
No, that's what got the war going. Hey, Reb, it's break time. Colonel, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. You go spend some time with your beautiful wife. I'll see you next month. Reb, if you want to stay on the line, you can. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
Thanks for having me. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, guys. You're off air.
Thanks.
More calls. Reb's holding.
I like Reb.
Republic.
He doesn't do conversation well.
What was that?
I said I like Reb. He doesn't do conversation well.
No, you gotta get it. You gotta get in there real early and make sure he knows you want to talk with him, because otherwise he goes off the rails pretty quick. All right, we got Gregory in California after Reb.
All right, and let's see here. I think I'm up to 11 people.
That's not bad. It's better than what RBN probably is getting.
What?
Well, I mean, on the live stream.
No, I meant 11 people that have in the last.
Yeah,
signed
that's
up for a free book.
That's good to hear. I like to hear people want to get free books, because it seems like actual printed materials are not that exciting for most people. So
it still says 8. I know more people did it since then.
All right, I'm going to run away. I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to give you the feed.
Okay.
And the Ease Off installs fast. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue, speed up your line, and increase profits.
Okay, I'm convinced. Where can I get my Ease Off?
Go to easeoff.com. That's EAZEOFF.com. And hurry, because we're offering free shipping for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows, too.
Ease Off, LLC, 417-932-6419.
Gilad Atzmon says the essence of Jewish power is the ability to prevent the discussion of Jewish power.
Jewish power requires anybody in politics to understand it and know about it, but never talk about it.
My Awakening really sums up with the very best evidence, the facts and the truth about race, and the fact that race drives history, and the truth about the Jewish question.
The younger you get, the greater the percentage of people who identify as alphabet soup, LGBTQRS. This woman, she's like, oh yeah, I identify as a koala 2 years ago. And I'm like, what? A koala? What?
Maybe if it was Quickie Koala, that might be cool, but otherwise, no. How about an inward pass? Have you ever received an inward pass from any of your black friends?
Biden invited a drag queen to come for the signing of the Respect for Marriage Act. It's the Respect for Anal Sex Act. So, I mean, let's just call it like it is.
The Patrick and Jeremy Show, Tuesday at 9 Central and Wednesday at 1 Central.
Welcome back. It's the final segment of tonight's show. I'm Peter Serafine. This is National Intel Report live on Republic Broadcasting Network, Liberty Lighthouse on Mojo 50 Radio, Patriot Nation Radio Network. There are 11 people that have entered to win a copy of one of my 3 books. I'm going to give you a few more minutes to fill out the form. Go to liberty-lighthouse.com. Fill out the win a book form. I'm going to give away 1 copy of each of my 3 books in just a couple of minutes. And you need to put your name in that hat at liberty-lighthouse.com and click the win a book button right at the top of the homepage there. Going back to the phones, we still have Reb, who held through the break. Reb, thanks for holding through the break.
I still held on. That was nice of me. Let's get back to why we're the Pentagon's first team. We did recon. We're not permitted under regulation. It says civilians prohibited direct participation, armed conflict. We can't do that. We sit back in the bunker and watch. We point at the target. We can overlay grid maps with GPS, and that's what we do. We did the recon, and we found out more information that we didn't have to. So now the Pentagon and all these agencies are getting advanced intel they never would have gotten because only we can call out radio stations and talk about killing the enemy inside America. Nobody else can because they're under jurisdiction Justice Department. We're under jurisdiction military, so they can't interfere with us. That's a crime. They're not allowed 911 and their associates. They can't interfere. So we go moving forward and found out in textbooks that's already been written, Soviet Colorado, we call it, is worse to the white race than North Korea. We'll testify to that. Well, they murder and steal and cover up, and the only thing keeping these 911 bastards, low-life traitors, enemies, is the U.S. Department of Defense is not following through on the law. And that's why you can't sue the Pentagon. We ordered the right parts. They didn't deliver them, but we have to give out 703-697-9121.
Right.
You keep calling and rattling it. That's what we're doing. But we don't have a choice. We're sitting here, and if they show up with troops, Bubba will do the talking. And Bubba reads narrative, summary, overview, and correlates it to operations order before they're done. You could give them a PowerPoint. They did this in other
You're
wars.
absolutely right that 100,000 people or so a year are dying from fentanyl, which is coming in from China and being allowed in through the southern border by the guy in the White House. You're right that there are
You don't
these.
even know half of the story.
I
I'm
know.
trying to explain.
I
Everybody
know.
knows that.
Reb, hold on. My point is, nobody's going to call it a war until the troops are in the street. If I can't walk out with a gun and start shooting people, then nobody's going to call it a war.
Okay, they won't call it that. We're ahead of things. But we get the truth here. Bubba talks it over. Like, I didn't know that the Navajo Redskin Reservation in the Four Corners has a business office of the drug cartels until I accidentally got them on the phone. I said, where are you from? She said her name was Terry. We're on the Navajo Reservation, Four Corners, Arizona, which is a couple hundreds of miles north of the border. And I said, well, everyone's drunk here. They have a big problem. And fentanyl and heroin. And I said, well, what are you doing? So she said, well, the drug cartels have a business office. I said, what? And I said, the Pentagon, I told them, what do you, well, they have their own, force there. They have their own patrol. They're like federal agents, but it's on a military reservation.
Yeah.
And the Department of War says, well, that's okay. No, it's not. They're allowing this inside America. You didn't know. I didn't know. There's pockets inside America that are set up with enemy activity, and we're hearing more and more. Wait a second. I dialed this number. Who are you? We work with the Chinese communists. I said, well,
That's what I was just going to bring up. Is there's like entire battalions of Chinese army in Canada, like along the northern border.
Forget
We've
Canada.
allowed all this stuff to happen. We the people, the John Q. public of the world, have taken our eyes off government, allowed them to do whatever they want, and for too long. And well, this is what happens: is they do whatever they want. Reb, I got people starting to call in and pile up behind you, so I'll give you just a couple seconds to make a wrap-up statement if you could.
Call that number. Make us do our job. We're not fact finders for the damn Pentagon. They're supposed to work for you and us. 703-697-9121. Demand Bubba Scout. Keep talking our name, because unlike Q, we exist. And I gave out numbers. If Q had given out phone numbers, I would have dialed them. But they didn't, because they didn't exist. And they're still talking about Q and the 6th of January 2021. Well, who cares? That means nothing. Telling us about what's coming means nothing. Telling us about events of history means nothing. We're at war now. 703-697-9121. Demand both Scout. For one thing, I won't be on your radio program. We'll be busy. And Bubba will be taking over, so I'm not going to make phone calls. We're going to make enemies dead. That's who we want to do.
All right,
we'll be sitting in the unless they let us push buttons. Be like that. Hey, Bubba got to nuke Seattle yesterday. It's my turn. I want to nuke frickin' Butte, Montana. I'll even pick a smaller target. I don't care. I like to push buttons too. It's not fair. She's a war hog, and everybody should share the warfare experience, even in the bunker. But we can't be in direct participation in armed conflict. To make us do our job, Bubba set things straight. We get 3 Corps. We're in 3 Corps country here in Colorado. Fort Hood, well, it's not Fort Hood anymore. Fort Carson. Maybe they changed Fort Riley. But that's 3 Corps, and we got gunships and everything. Let the enemy resist. It's okay. Let anyone get in the way. Swell. Everybody gets to be equal in this one. Equally dead if you're in the way, but that's good, okay?
All right, Reb, I'm going to let you go.
Otherwise, kiss your you-know-what.
That's enough. Thank you, Reb. We got a Facebook chat comment that says, Reb is hilarious, very funny. Yeah, it is what it is. Hey, this is a live call-in show. If you'd like to call in, like Reb from Colorado just did, it's 512-248-8252. And if you'd rather just text me, you can do that at 646-974-4487. That way you don't have to get your voice on the radio. Let's see. Last call. Go to liberty-lighthouse.com. Click the win a book button. And we're going to do some drawings here in just a minute. I got 3 books, 1 copy of each of the 3 books that I've written that I'm going to give away for free to 3 different people. liberty-lighthouse.com. Click the win a book button. Gregory in, is that California or Georgia? Line 3.
No, it's California, unfortunately. Although Georgia just is, every place is getting is dystopically.
I'm just old and blind and I couldn't read the little chat. I couldn't tell if there was a little tail on that C or if my, maybe my monitor's dirty.
Are you familiar with quiet weapons for silent wars or silent weapons for quiet wars at expose?
I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, it's pretty much what's going on right now in relation to what Reb has been trying to expound, and it's been going on for eons, I suppose. But are you familiar, Peter, with Michael Gaddy?
Yes.
What do you glean from his knowledge?
I agree with some of what he says, and I don't agree with others things that he says. It's just like anybody else. I'm my own man. I think for myself, and in some ways we think alike, in other ways we don't.
Well, I'm just getting back to the Revolutionary War and his documentations and papers and letters and writings that he's so eloquently has pronounced. And it got me, even before that, I was expounding my 2-party systems that I want to, I'm advertising them now. The first one is Articles of Confederation Party, because if we had the Articles of Confederation instead of this lawyer-made, Rothschild-inspired Constitution, and the Articles of Confederation actually put the king down to his knees to say, okay, enough's enough, let's do this. And then they had this convention with a bunch of lawyers that didn't represent the people at the time, sit around in a hot building for 56 days or whatever to iron this moronic thing out, which a bunch of people like Patrick Henry just walked out of in disgust because it wasn't getting anywhere. So that's got to tell you a lot about what's going on right then and in itself. And then if you look at the Treaty of Versailles or whatever it was that was passed, you know, with King George and the colonies, it's like it gave King George carte blanche. We were just subjects again. I mean, it doesn't take a mental genius to figure this out, and I've only got a ninth grade education, and so it's so dystopic that
Well,
we've been so.
this is one of the things that I disagree on. This is where we just, you know, I think the Articles of Confederation were good, but they were also leaving, you know, rebellion in the streets of the country, states printing money that and wiping out fake debt with inflation, and there was some problems with the Articles of Confederation. We were almost on the brink of fracturing as a nation at the under the Articles of Confederation. And oh, by the way,
Well,
most of
where
the
are
people
we
that
at now?
also, by the way, you said about the lawyers drawing up the Constitution. Most of the people that drafted the articles were lawyers as well.
Yeah.
Where we are
and
now
what articles
is,
did we get?
and where we are now is, we the people have ignored our government for too long. We don't teach the Constitution. John Q. Public doesn't know the Constitution, and we've allowed the government to do all of this nonsense. Had we stuck to the 4,500 words of the Constitution, we'd be in a much better place, but we didn't.
Well, and they teach us just those fairy tales that they come up with about these so-called founding fathers and how
and they take God out of
magnificent
everything.
they were. And, you know, some guy cuts down a cherry tree, another guy comes in and saves everybody from slavery, and then Woodrow Wilson, he comes in and just does a magnificent job at, you know, giving us the Federal Reserve, World War I, and of course you got good old Roosevelt to, you know, exasperated the whole deal, gave us, you know, all the administrative states that we have right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
they don't talk that in school. It's just like they don't talk about the, you know, the abridged version of the Constitution that the federal government is actually running under, rather than the 4,500 words that we were given. They go by this big giant stack of crap bound together through Supreme Court nonsense.
Well, yeah, it's a divide and conquer, right? If you got your nose in a book looking at all these Supreme Court cases and statutes and all this other minutia, you're not focusing on the real game, the real ball, what's really going on in your precious moments at this exact time.
Well,
and so you're often
I think it was the 1930s, and I could be wrong about the year, but Harvard Law School said that they're not going to teach the Constitution anymore. They're going to teach case law. Well, case law is somebody's opinion. You can't, it's like a game of telephone. This judge said this, and then this judge said this, and then this judge said this, and here we are 80 years later, 100 years later, and we don't even know what, nobody's ever gone back to read the Constitution itself to see what it actually says. That's how our entire government operates now. Hey, Gregory, do me a favor.
But what it says and what it means are two different things, because law and what we perceive as the verbiage, you know, Webster Dictionary is a lot different than Black's Law Dictionary or Ballantyne's 1898 dictionary, right? So we're speaking Babylonian. We're speaking Babel because we don't define every word that we speak. In order for you and me to have a real heart-to-heart, down-to-earth conversation, I've got to know exactly your definition of exactly every word that you expound so that we can be on the same playing field. This is something I've been trying to get across to folks, but we don't do anymore because we're all taught different things at different times because of this wonderful 10th plank of the Communist Manifesto, you know, government-controlled school poopy.
That's not 10th. That's like second. but yeah.
Oh, Okay, well, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. It's what they've. I mean, we developed all 10 planks, and then we developed the worst parts of the fascist and the worst parts of the communists. Well, I mean, we're a communitarian, as Lark from Texas would say.
But the
society.
When it comes to definitions of the time, I personally prefer Webster's 1828 dictionary because it was written for that purpose. If you've ever seen, I don't have a printed copy anymore. I need to get another one. But in the like preface of the Webster's 1828 dictionary, Noah Webster wrote, he made this dictionary so that we would understand our founding documents in history. He knew that the meanings of words changed. He wrote that dictionary so that future generations could read the founding documents and know what they meant. That was the purpose of his dictionary.
Yeah, but the words that he expounded then have been turned upside down and bent around to mean whatever.
It's just like well-regulated militia. It's what the word regulated doesn't mean what it means today versus what it means then, which is why anytime you're reading the Constitution or the Declaration, you need to go to Noah Webster's 1828 dictionary to look for the definitions. Regulated at that time meant working regularly, practiced, on schedule. Hey, Gregory.
Yeah. Yeah, good call. Thank you so much.
Hang on, wait, before you go. I would like you to pick 3 numbers between 1 and 14.
3, 6, 9.
3, 6, and 9. So let's see here. That would be Declan O'Shea, Steve Kenyon, and Peter Laub. Those are the 3 winners of free books for this week. And let's see here. We'll do them in chronological order. We'll give Declan Progress Really, my first book. And then we'll give Steve Kenyon my second book, So Simple Even a Politician Can Understand. And then Peter Laub is the winner of A More Tyrannical King, the book that just came out last week. Thank you very much for helping me pick those
Peter,
winners.
hold on 1 minute there. I don't think a politician can comprehend anything that might be coming out of anybody's mouth because they're so involved in their me, Nazi, what can I get out of this deal type goofy.
Let me tell you a little bit about that book. So Simple, Even a Politician Can Understand. Simple ideas for seemingly complex political issues. This book is a collection of about a dozen ideas that have either come from me or from guests of this show. And they are all really simple ideas that would go a long way to fixing really complex problems. One of which is, one bill, one topic, which at the time was HR 46. Now it's HR 91 because it still hasn't passed. One bill, one topic, meaning any bill
that would be kind of fun and original, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be a great idea.
Whoever thought of that one? In limited terms, I mean, that's what the Articles of Confederation was. We ain't gonna serve no more than X, Y, Z, and that get out of here. Let's get some new ideas. Yeah. And that's what the convention was supposed to be, was let's just fine tune the Articles of Confederation to make it work economically.
Right. And then
what they did was they distorted and perverted and corrupted the whole darn thing, and that's why we're in the position that we're in right now.
But one of the problems was you needed a unanimous vote in order to make any change to the Articles of Confederation. And you can't get 13 people. Right. You can't get 13 people together to agree on anything. So how are you going to fix it?
We don't need more laws, because when you make laws, you take away freedom. Laws take man-made laws.
Right, but the states were taking away the freedom under the Articles of Confederation. The states were taking away the freedom, not the federal government. The states were doing it because there was nothing the federal government could do to stop them. The states were going through and printing so much money that it became worthless. and the rich people, didn't bother them, but all the poor people, well, look, now I got even less.
Well, so it was up to the poor folks to come up with their own currency and screw the rich folks out of whatever kind of tripe that they were.
And how do you do that when the government
coercing
controls the
people
currency?
into?
How do you do that how do you do that when the state government controls the currency?
Well, the state doesn't have to. Every county can control their own currency, and they can all be freer
Not
from
if the state
everybody
passes
else's
a law and
currency.
says that you can't. That was what was going on under
Then
the
that
articles.
was the people's fault for letting them do that kind of crap. That's another law that's color of law, not real law. Real law is objective law, like you were talking about before. Man-made law is a color of law. It's whatever he makes up whenever he makes it up. And so when you deal with those two, one's diametrically opposed to the other, and I don't know, the law you follow is the master you follow, and if you want to follow man-made law, more power to you. I follow natural law, and I stick on that plane, and I try to stay sane, and I don't vote.
All right.
I
gotta let you go, Gregory. I got another caller coming in, and I'm running up to the gate.
Happy days. Much love. Be well.
Appreciate your call as always. We got Romeo in Montreal, the first international caller of the night on line 5. Welcome to the show, Romeo.
Yes, hello, Peter. I heard the beginning of your program, and I was going to talk about how the elections could be changed. There is a foundation in the United States that recommends that the government give all potential voters a subsidy of $200 to give to their favorite candidate. I think it would be more fair that way, because in one way or the other, in this system, the government reimburses industry or business 75% of what they contribute. So if the government is going to contribute to these very wealthy organizations, they could subsidize the people, and it would be much fairer system of the elections. But I want to say two other things here, because I was shocked. You were talking about fentanyl coming into the United States.
Mm-hmm.
You're quite aware, I assume, that during this Iran-Contra situations, crack, cocaine, was being exchanged for arms for the Contras.
Mm-hmm. And just like the poppy plants in Vietnam being run by, or heroin or whatever it was in Vietnam that was being smuggled around by the CIA to help fund stuff. Yeah, it's all nasty stuff. Yeah.
Now, you said something shocking. I never heard of this, that China has an army in Canada. I've never heard this before. But even if you are correct, and I don't know, but I'd like to ask you this question. How many countries in the world have the United States basins on their soil?
Too many. I don't know the answer to the question, but too many.
So in other words, China might have one. As a matter of fact, the military bases, I think they only have one in the world. The United States, President Putin put it very well. Take a globe, twirl it around, and put your finger on it, and most likely there's an American base there.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. That's what all I want to say.
Yeah. I can't remember. My source for the Chinese people in Canada was it was a guest on Americanuck Radio. Mike Phillip is the show host. Americanuck is the name of his show. And
this is the Chinese army, you say?
Yeah. There were.
What is his name? Mike. Sorry.
Mike Phillip is the show host name, but it was a guest to his show, and it was a military guest, a colonel or something. I don't remember. It's been a while. The show is American Uck. He's an American living in Canada, and his show is American Uck, like American Canuck.
Honest to God, I've never seen any Chinese military personnel in one of the largest cities in Canada. I've never seen anything like. I've seen Japanese soldiers during the time of Expo 67 in full uniform, but I've never seen Chinese. There were a lot of Chinese people. A lot of immigrants came from China.
A note from my producer here, John Moore, who has a show here on the Republic Broadcasting Network, has been saying that the Chinese army has been in Canada for almost 2 years.
Really, eh? Does he know where in Canada?
He may have. I don't know, but he might. But Romeo, I have to let you go. Thank you very much for your.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
I am about out of time for the evening. I want to thank you all for registering to try to win a free book this week, and I will do it again next week. So please keep registering. Hit the win a book button at the top of liberty-lighthouse.com, and I will we'll do it again next week. I'll give away one of each book again live on air on Thursday the 28th. If you want to come back and listen to it live, get it live. In the meantime, while you're at liberty-lighthouse.com, click around, check out the article I write every week. It posts on Friday morning. That's on the blog page at liberty-lighthouse.com. Feel free to click around the shop. I've got some pretty cool t-shirts and bumper stickers and stuff like that you can buy to support the show, as well as vitamins and things, kinds of fun stuff. I do want to say, write to Bear Insurance, whether we're at war now or whether we're going to be at war soon. Well, you need carry insurance. If you own a firearm, you need carry insurance, because every time you use a firearm today, somebody's trying to put you in jail. So go to protectwithbear.com and use code Lighthouse, and I'll save you 10% off. And it starts at $11 a month. So 10% off is like a month free. That's protectwithbear.com. Use code Lighthouse. Everybody carry insurance. Hey, it's been great. I got to cut the short. God bless America. Protect your liberties. Once they're gone, there's no getting them back. Peace.
I'm so excited to have you as part of the Wild Pastures